He's got a welcome promotion, better known as the election infection injection. The weakest part of every union is the union leadership. It's always going to be the weakest because it has politics. And those politics bring a definite pecking order, which is a big problem because it's based on time rather than talent. Once a politician achieves the first step by getting some kind of job at the union, whether it be sergeant at arms. Actually, the sergeant at arms that caused all this problem became a business manager, financial secretary, treasurer, and left 293 members shorted their death benefits, and that's what this is all about. So they consolidate that power by creating a group around them. Sometimes they call them a team, sometimes they don't. But it's a set group that comes to a union meeting. And to help that purpose, they don't make the union meeting area very big. In our case, it's 2% chairs of our local. Rather allowing voters to decide, that's the membership, they have Article 3, which lets the business manager appoint an extra business agent. I think initially that was done for as the union grew, but now it just seems to be the latest recording secretary that the business manager appointed before, and it's the same group. They call themselves a team, which I don't really like that because the team is the union, so we don't need two teams. So the unfairness to me is why I got involved in going up there and to hear the second reading and vote of that Article 3 thing, which never happened. Although they say they think it happened, or they're gonna push it down our throats. Unfortunately, that's how bad it's got by creating an extra spot. It was 5, now they're gonna have 6. These things, they're not recorded, so it's just my word against a bunch of them. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose that. But they all know. They all know they did it. So we'll see how that goes. So what I did to start the ball rolling to try to stop this crazy politics, I decided to tell them I'm running 62 days before the election. And tell them I wasn't happy. I wanted them to know, to start thinking about me. Not that I really wanted to run, but that's the way the UA told me to do it, run. I'm good at it. I was good at what I did. I'm sure I have no trouble. Basically, it's take money in, put money out, and you got a lot of secretaries to help you do that. Don't need business agents. So I put that together, had some cards handed out at the lobby of the school / meeting area, and I got thrown out of there while half hour before the meeting started. Said you can't do that. So we've come to the point you can't campaign at union places. That's where it started. Guys would go all the union. They talk about stuff. I'm gonna run. Yeah, run. That's how unions were. Now they just become capitalistic adventures for people that get in there. They forget about the membership. They forgot so much they skimmed off the dead members the moment they died by not raising the dues and keeping the votes coming in. Oh man, they're doing a great job and no dues. But they were skimming off dead people the minute they died, and they don't know how big a story this is. I knew I wouldn't have to do much except get involved and say I was going to run, because I did that before they drew up the election rules. And they drew them up to as a financial burden to anybody that wanted to mail out to the membership. There was stickers at one time, and always going to cost you postage. But now they wanted you to go to a Pacific printer, which I did, and great people, but you got to pay that rate. You can't put them in envelopes and stamps. So I'm a retired guy. Money isn't easy, but the team did theirs together. I think there was 6 of them all together that they did a mailing. So 6 divided into 5,000 is a little easier than 1 divided into it. I'm the 1. So that was not against the rules, but certainly not helpful to get anybody else in there except themselves. A friend of mine told me you ought to join the Sticking With My Union group. You can defend yourself. I didn't know anything about it, but it's 1,700 people in it, so I joined. It's for 602 people. And first thing I did is I post something, and they immediately automatically dumped it. Automatically. I mean, it was fast, like instantaneous. They got a notification, you've been removed. Not against the rules, but later on I was able to look at it, but couldn't post anything except maybe in a thread. So up came the president of the local, which happens to be the chairman of every committee. I call it ex officio, which is the officer for all the committees. He got involved in it, and they call him the expert. That's his title in that little group. And he decided that he'd go after me by asking them the famous question. Asked him, being me, Joe Bailey, asked him about the money he owed 602 Benefits when he sold his company. This is the president of the local that also oversees the labor report, better known as LM2s. But the president should have known. But ironically, most ironically, for 4 years as the president of Local 602 and the responsibility of all the committees, the current business manager, Joe Savia, let the assistant business agent report on all the LM2s. John talks. Here he is. He's talking about, I sold my company and didn't pay union dues. Well, he may be confused because here's John, here's Wayne, spinner up. This is 4 or 5 months before I sold my company in October. And Joe Savia doesn't trust John. So he put Wayne in there to sign everything on the LM2s, all the numbers. So it's easy to understand why John's a little confused. It's hard to understand why John didn't stand up and tell the union meeting what's happening. It's not hard for me. I know John. And John was not allowed in, I guess. And I think that's the same part of that pecking order. I got letters, I'm detrimental, from Joe Savia. And John shouldn't be surprised that the man did that all the time. He sent letters out, anybody that he feared politically. So I got my letter that I'm detrimental. So keep that in mind. So lastly, I'll see you on election day. Come on by. I'll tell you that I was always good to my members. I paid their benefits. When I laid them off, my people when I owned my company, I laid them off. I always called the hall, see if they had a job for them. And I always gave them a day, gave a lot of them a week, extra money. Because I liked them, number one. And number two, they made a lot of money from me. So, what goes around comes around. And that's what's going to happen to these fellas. What goes around comes around. Because we cannot hide evidence of 14 years that this was going on. And we can't ask the lawyers, do I have to pay the members that he represents? That would be the business manager recently did that. Covered up. 14 years of information about how this happened. They compared the members' deaths to what they reported to the Labor Department, and the difference was $717,573, and they still won't address it. But how they're addressing it is to shame me. By the way, they did put on, the president put on the the official notification journal that I should be ignored and shunned. I mean, it doesn't end. Doesn't end. A few days in from the mail outs, I began to get lots of cards back that had no address on them. And so I called, I texted Greg and Chris, because he was on that group with Doyle Printing. And I got an immediate response from Chris that said, notify Jack on the election committee. I said I don't have his number, so he gave me the contact information. So I texted to Jack, and he looked at it and said, I don't have anything to do with this. A whole lot of people had a lot to do with this. This is new. It was never done before. And here they are going to go to a printing thing to get your label out when they could have given me machines. I could have made sure the address was on it and put it on an envelope and put a stamp on it. But this is the same old stuff. They don't want anybody in there but their group. This is quite a bit of interference. Add to that, when I went over to introduce myself to two people at the election committee's table, Jack's 3 feet from me, another guy's about 2 feet from me, and another guy's 4 feet. So we're all in a little group, and there wasn't even 10 people in the hall. And I introduced myself, I asked their names, and they said, I'm not telling you, one guy. And the other guy, I asked him, and he said, he wasn't going to tell me. This is the election committee. I think they should tell their names to somebody who's running for office, especially the top office. What do you think? Anyway, see you at the election. Have a good day. Have a good Memorial Day, by the way. I'm making this on Memorial Day. God bless those soldiers. Man, whew. They never left a man behind. And we left 293 members behind. Their beneficiaries never knew. Never knew. This is a big story.